Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? This is another segment in a series I like to call Stupid Things That People Say. And this is stupid things that men's rights activists say it's okay to hit women because equality. Alright, so now what do I mean by that? Well, I've heard in several places on the inner tubes now that the notion that, a man is never supposed to hit a woman is like some part of some outdated kind of chivalry type thing. And nowadays, because of feminism, people, men and women are supposed to be equal. So now you should be allowed to punch them in the face like any other, like you would to any other man, right? And it's somewhere in there. There's intertwined with that is the argument that men are the victims of domestic violence more often than women, which is just complete and total bullshit. And the whole thing's bullshit from start to finish. First off, I like to say that, yes, obviously you have a right to defend yourself. So if anybody comes up and starts to punch you or try to hurt you or assault you in some way, you have a right to defend yourself, right? But I would say, in my own personal opinion, right, and this applies to me, this is my own opinion, so if you don't agree with it, then that's cool. I think that, number one, it should be proportional to, the assault that's it should be the way you defend yourself should be proportional to the person, trying to hit you. And secondly, if the person trying to hit you is just physically incapable of hurting you, then it's not right, in my opinion, to go all out and just beat the crap out of that person. So what do I mean by that? Well, proportional as in, if a guy, slaps you in the face, then you should not escalate it by drop kicking him off a fucking cliff. You know what I mean? You don't have to beat the living crap out of somebody because they slight you, And I know a lot of people act like that. I've known a million people in my life that are just the first sign of aggression, they just go all out, or whatever. And that's to me, that's not necessary. You should respond in kind, right? And you shouldn't escalate the situation ever, unless your life depends on it. That's my own opinion, Number two is if the person attacking you is just not physically capable of hurting you, then you shouldn't hurt them. That's my opinion. So let's say a 12-year-old kid came up to me and started trying to beat me up or something, and just was punching me and stuff, and it just could not hurt me. It would be wrong, in my opinion, then for me to just and pop him in the face and knock his ass over and have him crying. That would be wrong. The same way that let's say a fucking dwarf came up and started trying to kick me and shit, or a toddler, or the same way that if a woman who weighs 100 pounds came up and started trying to push me or punch me or something, it wouldn't be right for me to just bop, punch her in the face and fuck her up. That wouldn't be right. It would be, now that's not out of some kind of notion that I have that, a man never hits a woman. That's not because of that. It's because it's wrong, in my opinion, to brutalize people, right? It would be perfectly acceptable in that, and let's say, because that happens a lot, right? A woman will get up in a man's face and slap him, shit like that, right? And in my opinion, it's perfectly acceptable to grab her and restrain her until the cops come or something. It's wrong, in my opinion, to just sock her in the face and knock her out like you would a man, right? Seriously, I don't think that's, and that's not because of any notion of chivalry or feminism or whatever. It's just not, it's not right to me to respond to aggression, disproportionately. Now, obviously, if my attacker, is capable of hurting me, let's say she's all big and buff, right? Or she's a karate expert, or she has a fucking, knife or some shit. That's a different story, That's when, yes, it is acceptable to fight back with force, right? When you're actually in danger. It's just the way I see it, it seems to me that 99% of the time when when a woman assaults a man, the man is not in any physical danger. And it usually, when it comes down to, it's like the woman slapping him for some reason because she's mad or something. Now, is that okay? No, it's not okay to just slap people, right? But it's also not okay to just like turn around and belt her in the face, with full force, right? That's wrong too. So, it doesn't, you don't right a wrong with another wrong, in my opinion. The other part of this is that, this idea that men are the victims of domestic violence more often than women, and that's just fucking bullshit, all right? Every source out there ever disproves that. I could list 15 in the little bottom thing, and I don't even think that's necessary to back up. I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious that that is just not true, There's a reason why we have, terms like wife beater and, and a reason why we have like, domestic abuse shelters for women and special, like, that there's entire like organizations out there to help women deal with domestic abuse and not men. And that's actually one of the things that MRAs complain about. They go, well, there's no people to help men. It's because it barely fucking happens. It's just very rare. And when it does happen, it's not like the man is getting his ass beat every single night and getting raped and shit like that. It's just the problem because it does exist, men are occasionally the victims of domestic violence. And I would just counter by that, saying that it's very rare, and when it does happen, it's more psychological. It's more like in the harassment area. Like you'll see MRAs, they'll post like stories of like, women being abusive and stuff like that, and it's usually more in the harassment kind of arena. Like the woman will do shit like call them 24/7 and like, call his relatives and harass them and fuck them up at work and that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, that's harassment. That's not domestic violence. Domestic violence is beating the shit out of somebody, slapping them, fucking punching them in the face, raping them, shit like that. And where are the reports of people's wives beating the crap out of their husbands? That shit doesn't happen, very, very rarely, and when it does happen, it's like the man is not in any danger of dying. Usually not, I mean, fuck, like, it's most like, overwhelmingly the other way around, men punching and beating their wives and killing them, okay, and this is one point where the feminists, like, they have a point, right? It's, domestic violence, overwhelmingly is shifted onto the woman away from the man. So just when you hear stuff like that, it's just bullshit, and it's just really kind of, it's just a bullshit argument to try and make it sound like men are the victims, and they're fucking not, right? You're not a victim, right? You guys out there that have crazy girlfriends, you're not fucking victims, okay? Don't try to pretend that you are. Adios.